Discussion this morning, we are looking at the different and various initiatives around the country to mark this 50 years and what they're up to, and how you can get involved and how that works out. And this morning, joining me in studio is Penny Musembi, who is the founder and director of Raspberry Adams Limited. Thank you for joining us on Morning Express this morning. And I'll start with just asking you to take us through this initiative, Kenya at 50 celebrations, cultural celebrations and participation is what you're having. Tell us about your initiative.
Kenya at 50 is a platform where we want to look at where we've come from as a country. So it's a full celebration of our achievements, socially, economically, and cultural.
Right.
Similarly, it's a springboard to invest in the next 50, and our future is the youth. So we are looking at a place where we give the youth an avenue. So we're bringing together the old and the new. So it's a full cultural celebration of who we are as Kenya.
Okay. When you say we, who are we that are organizing this and running this?
We say we are Raspberry Adams, but it has collective partnerships. For example, from Laugh Industry, UN Habitat, different county governments, to CFC Stambik, It's Out, so, and many others. We feel like it's a collective ownership, because the story of Kenya cannot be told or owned by one person. So we still are getting people plugging in. So it is for Kenya by Kenyans,
Yeah. So plus one, and as you said, it cannot be told by one person. So it's bringing all this collectively to talk about Kenya's story.
Yes.
And what is that story you're taking out there to the country?
We are talking, for example, if media, if we look at where we've come from for the next 50 years, it's from your black and white, the noise. So we want to give the stories of the companies that maybe you remember your parents going to this one farm, and they were like 20, and then now they've hired 10,000, and then maybe they're contributing to economically or even doing something socially to the community. Now, can we pick the best from that? And as we are trying to focus on the youth, we give them the best practice or the best values, then use this now to propel it to the next 50.
Okay.
So yeah.
And you're talking about focusing on the youth, and we keep hearing this is really youth and women.
Yeah.
So how are you doing that, the focus on the youth? In what ways?
We came up with a strategy called Vision Acceleration Strategy for Kenya. And why we thought we focus on the youth is because we were like, we want to get to Vision 2030 quicker, but then how do we get there? They need to have the jobs. So we put them in 3 categories.
Right.
We looked at the blue collar market, where they are lacking skills. So we are trying to revamp all the technical centers in the country with a global curriculum where they can be certified and get a job.
Okay.
Then we're like, okay, sorted. What about the innovators and the entrepreneurs? So we are setting up a hub to cater for that. These are the job creators. And we're like, there's another bigger aspect. Majority of people now are into fashion, DJs, music, the creatives. Who's looking onto that? So now their festival gives them a platform for that. But when you bring them together in groups, it's easy, it's better managed, better organized. They can have access to funding. They can get better support, financial intelligence, training, mentorship. So it's a collective, it's a 360 view of how to propel them.
Yeah. I like that you said 360 view on how to propel them, because in the past a lot of attention has been on the blue collar jobs and not so much on entrepreneurship, not so much on the arts, especially parents will hear you talking about us and they're like, nope, what kind of a job is that? You know, you should focus on perhaps a different kind of a job. So are we seeing the youth though being receptive to this and taking it and running with it, believing that it can happen and work for them?
Yes, we have. We've done a couple of county youth forums. Let me give an example for Nyeri. And we've had youth coming up, forming CBOs. You find 3,200 of them are organized. They're asking for the support. They're asking for the financial intelligence training. In Nairobi, when we had the Westgate, we have an open engagement platform where we say we inspire, we engage to empower. And we had 300 youth coming out for 7 days, for 12 hours non-stop. So they're willing to be included in this community, and they just want to have that opportunity and the chance.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are some of the other activities you have lined up? I mean, we're still counting down to 12th December. Do you have a flurry of activities, I would suppose, ahead of that?
Yes, we do. And we have similar mini forums and festivals and get-togethers and celebrations happening in counties. For example, like Homa Bay had theirs, which was very interesting. Nyeri is coming up with their, in fact, Youth Go Youth Market Day, and Miss, which was the other time, Miss Tourism. Kiambu is doing something. So all of that, then now this will be the culmination of it. It will be the big one. Yeah.
So tell us about the big one, the culmination.
The big one is on December 7th and 8th. We want it to be on the streets of Nairobi. Reason is we want to also incorporate the Ama City Changer initiative, which is being run by UN Habitat. The reason is they have a pro-inclusive, we are also looking at, when we're looking at some of the futuristic sustainable solutions, we look at even the environment, how we build in our cities. Are they having space for these creatives? So we are looking at the second car park to Jivanji. So we want to close the streets, have exhibitors from fashion, Masai market to design, whereas the stage is running for 2 days. So we are looking at having more than 200 artists on stage. It doesn't matter, from a deaf rapper to someone who's never performed, from Kibera to, you know, let them be there. And as they're there, there's like kind of mentorship going on from the old to the new who's never been there, to lawyers who are giving them pro bono on copywriting to patent. Whereas our main aim is to try and get the government to reclaim these places like Jivanji, give them back to the youth. Can they sit there and have Wi-Fi and create something where, or every other end month, someone can come and get talent from there, you know? So that is how the festival looks like. So we also have the restaurants and the people that are going to be on ground. We want to feature everything that's Kenyan. And then for between now and then, we'll give the story from, even if you talk about Kimbo, how it looked like. If it was Royco, can you imagine when you're abroad and you had someone sent you Royco, it just takes you back home. And tea. Or the phone call of that, you know, the dialing round and you hear home. I remember the phone booth. Yes. So we want to celebrate some of those things that make us who we are, the oneness. And coming from where we've come, we had our Peace Festival in February, where we had more than 10,000 youth come out to KICC. And we are still very raw and young, as there's so many things that have happened. So this will be coming together as one Kenya. Yeah,
I like that you say that, because on the show every Thursday we have a show on that and Kenyanness, and just trying to foster that oneness, because of course as a country very many challenges, and for the youth it becomes very intricate seeing that this is a young person with so much potential. They could pretty much become anything they want to become, but it's all about what path they choose to take. And at, you know, an early age in life, then there's some form of guidance needed, mentorship, and also just taking advantage of the opportunities that we see presented to them. So it's good that, as you explain this, other than telling the Kenyan story, there is that avenue to allow them to learn, to be mentored, and to take advantage of opportunities out there. Yeah, I think that's very important.
Yes, it is.
Take us through this. I ran my city. What is it? I am a city changer. I like that logo theme. Very interesting. Talk to us about that a bit.
Ama City Changer is a UN Habitat initiative, which they're running, I think, globally. And why they say Ama City Changer is because you take ownership of your environment. And us with our +1, which means you can never be alone. You have to be with someone else. So looking at how, say, Kibera and Nairobi fall through. If someone living in Kibera and they see perhaps I&M building, they don't feel like they have the right or the chance to actually fight for an opportunity at I&M building. But once you change the environment, or you bring a pro-inclusive where they feel like they can actually blend in and they have the basic standards of living, similarly that if it's a sports person talent in Kibera, they can also be coming to Nairobi. Now that city changer is what now brings the pro-inclusion. You feel like they are giving them opportunities, whereas we're trying to have sustainable cities which are looking into the future, which are environment friendly, which can cater for growing populations like the way Nairobi is growing.
And finally, as we wind up, tribalism has been a key and big issue in the country, and you're talking about celebrating cultural differences, and for the youth especially, where most of them just, you know, get all this negativity impacted on them at a very early stage. How are you getting them? And some talk about .com, and they don't want to really be involved in all those cultural things. They find that very old school. So how are you going about in terms of just making them find a sense of pride in that, and also looking at their cultural differences and diversity as a means and a platform that can bring them together instead of dividing them?
We're actually telling them that our culture is a celebration. So we are trying to, we've even proposed maybe to come up with a cultural trust, which is gonna be, we are gonna be like torchbearers to hold this. So all our differences, the diversity, is something when bring together is what makes us Kenya. So we are talking about a melting pot. Pick the good, and even if you're picking the Western, also bring them together, because there's some things like in community that we learn, like youth and children were for the community. If you saw your neighbor doing something, or if you're a kid, remember you did something, be beaten by, first of all your neighbors.
Yes.
And then now you come home and you're told, you know, you're gonna still be punished. So that collective ownership, like there's some good lessons and values that we can carry through. So those are things that we also instill in them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Finally, the next 50 years, you've mentioned that, because yes, now we're looking back, we want to walk through that journey, remember where we've come from to where we are now. But in terms also of the message you're putting out there for the next 50, what is that message, and also your closing remarks?
My next message is that we have a long way to go. We've come a long way, but also we are our own keepers.
Right.
We can destroy Kenya, or we can make it.
Right.
So the right investment, the right opportunities and oneness is what is going to make us go there.
Okay.
Yes.
So that is the message you...
Yes, that's the message.
Putting out there for all the youth.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being part of our discussion this morning. We appreciate you, Penny Musembi of Raspberry Adams Limited, and all the best with all your activities around the country. Wish you the best.
Asante sana.
All right.
Thank you.